Good morning, everybody, and welcome on the Good Data Morning Show. Wherever you are, hopefully it's a good day because you're taking care of your data. Today, we're going to talk about how to build a business case for data governance, but not just any business case, one that will really wow your business executives, which is not easy to do.
So true. Our guest today is Sharad Varshni, and I have the pleasure of introducing Sharad, who is an ace technologist turned entrepreneur. Technology Headline puts him in the list of the top 50 most successful Indian entrepreneurs in the US. He has founded OvalEdge to blend his unique experience in big data, technology, and process management into creating a much needed data management product. Before founding OvalEdge, Sharad was a principal architect at the innovative software firm Hortonworks, now merged with Cloudera. He has a nuclear engineering degree from IIT, which is the best institute of technology in India. Welcome, Sharad. It's such a pleasure to have you again on the Good Data Morning Show.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, George and Diana. It's really a pleasure to come on the show.
Likewise.
Let's just jump into this really popular topic about how to build a business case for data governance. So my first question would be, why do we need a business case for data governance?
So before we go to the why do we need a business case for data governance, I think that we all assume that we need a business case for data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody know that data is so important, data is precious, valuable, oil, and we are seeing all these key buzzwords. But we need a strategy to kind of take the data to put into the value and convert into the value. And now converting the data to the value, when you see from the overall strategy perspective, you will see that, okay, there are two parts of this strategy. One is offense, and another one is the defense. So offense, we talk about like data science, data engineering, your data scientist, which is like really a brilliant people who is trying to figuring out, the business case and trying to get the value out of it. And your defense team is the data governance team, which is ensuring that, you have all the things aligned properly and it's complete. So data governance have a lot of things. It's not only one aspect of it. It have the access control. It have all the data quality is proper or not, if the literacy is there or not, right? So all these aspects of the data governance, you need to have the completeness of the data governance and the defense cycle of it so that you can really go and focus on offense as much as you can. So that is the main objective of the overall, why you need data governance. And if you are playing without defense, just the offense, you know what is going to happen, right? So just, like for example, sometime back, about 2 years back, there is a big breach at Equifax, right? Because we know that, there is, because they are too offensive in their strategy. They are playing new every time, new product, but they forget about the defense side of it. And suddenly, when they realize that they have to focus on defense, and then suddenly the whole company kind of came down to standstill, and then there is a lot of chaos because of that. So you need a comprehensive data governance and complete data governance. You cannot keep one option open. For example, that when you want to do the data governance, you want to ensure the data quality is aligned, data access controls are proper, and every aspect of that is there. So you need a complete data governance so that you can really focus on the offensive strategy, which is data science and engineering. So that is the reason you need to have the data governance business case. In the part of that is a part of the entire data strategy.
I love that analogy, Sharad. Thank you for sharing that. And for all of you data scientists, data analysts out there that are watching right now, this is one of the reasons why you need data governance. So, don't think it's not important. Don't think it doesn't really concern you. It really affects your day-to-day activities.
Right.
Exactly.
It really enables you.
I'm curious, what are the main factors that determine a company to decide to create a data governance business case?
Yeah. So as we are going and creating the business case for our data strategy, So there should be two components of that. The first is that, okay, let's find out that what would be the business case which will create the value out of it. So how do we create the business value of that? There can be various, you want to do supply chain optimization, for example, right? Or you may want to do, for example, you want to create a new product, which gets a product recommendation. So there is a various examples of the data value which you want to create from there. So that is the one aspect of that which you have to create. Then in that part of it, you have to find out, okay, in the governance side, what are the things we need to make sure that so that it will enhance the productivity of the team which is really working on the offensive side of it. So those teams can be like, okay, they need to have the proper data access for all the data, right? They need a mechanism to control the quality of the data. So if suppose, for example, you are building a recommendation engine for your movie, right? And all the data is bad, right? Or the data is not appropriate, which is not coming from user, your recommendation will not be good. And your recommendation will be not like Netflix. It will be something like, mom and pop show or something like that. So it will not be, the data products are really the core of your business. All the new businesses which is growing very fast is growing because they have built amazing data products, right? If there's Google or Facebook or anybody, they have those data products, which is the offensive side of it, which is really the valuable. And that's so the component is, first, you have to find out that what is the value driver for my data business case? What are the things which will drive the value? The second thing, okay, what I have to do to protect it? How can I ensure that my team is effective, right? You're just hiring that bunch of data scientists and giving them access to the data, or just giving them data is not going to build that. You need to have a strategy, and a strategy requires a thought process, understanding their problems, what the problems are they having, how do we resolve these problems, and what kind of framework you need. For example, software development is there for a long time, right? There was a methodology which used to be waterfall methodology before, then is moved to agile methodology. So these methodologies are there, which improves they come out with the features very quickly. Similar to that, you need a data governance methodology, what we call it progressive methodology, to kind of ensure that you're governing your data and then creating the more value from it. So that is the reason behind it. And those are the various components you need to think through it in order to create the strategy for data governance.
Absolutely. Matthias, I'm sorry about that. Here mentioning that he's watching from Brazil, and he's been on this data journey since 1996, and he still sees a lot of resistance to strategies. One thing I did want to mention, Sharad, is I think you've outlined a lot of great examples that really represent maybe the carrot portion of why we need to do this, and what is that value proposition that we need to put in the business case. And sometimes we also have the stick, which is more on the regulation side of things, right? So like the CCPA and GDPR. I mean, when GDPR was first announced, you could really see a spike in the interest or the investment in data governance for companies all over the world, well, mainly Europe, but really it expanded outwards as well. So kind of have to balance both the carrot and the stick, and sometimes the stick can be a little bit stronger.
I think, there are one governance, I would say that, all the time we think governance is bad for the business, in general businesses, but these governance are sometimes is really good for society in general. So I will take an example of, let's say within the data field, there is a data law which is allow all the organizations, financial organizations, to submit their credit worthiness to the central bureaus, right? This is a simple law passed in 1960s to make sure that they can do it. It created trillions worth of mortgage industry. It created worth of industry and created real value from it, right? If you think about it, if the law would have not been there, none of the bank would have given it. There is no credit agency, and no credit agency, nothing would have been moved to the level that it moved so far. And America was, the US was one of the prime, innovator into that area, and you see the mortgage industry and everything is so so everybody have taken that, and that's where the so driver for the whole economy of the world, right? So it's not always we see the laws and something that, okay, this is a stick and this is bad for the society. It has done a lot good for the society as well. Sometimes we take our liberal head and trying to see, no, the laws are not good, let's keep everything private. So so that if you see the same perspective, similar to the GDPR and CCPA, it is really taking care of the privacy of the individuals, which is the prime factor which you need it for, which you need to take care of in the case of, there is a there's all concern from the Google and Facebook, everybody, about the privacy now. Individuals are worried about it. I'm glad that those countries have taken the action and created those laws. So for the companies, they are ensuring, they're sometimes they say whether should we get compliant or not compliant, and they worry about the investment they have to do for the data governance. They think like, oh, this is the bad thing, but think of this is a nature of opportunity. What you can do in order to create this, take this opportunity, because take this investment. What we generally say, okay, take the investment for this, because you have to do it. You need a stick. And then try to create your processes so that in a manner for all the data governance, so you can also do data literacy in the organization. If the data literacy is there, the more of the analytics can do the data science. And the more data science can be done, then more and more people can create data products. And the data products are ultimately the value. And it is the culture in the organization which creates the data product. It's not that you come up with the vision on one day and then your data product is ready. It doesn't work that way. You have to start what you have, right? You can't buy things from the market in the data products. The organization have, like, Google is not going to give away their data. Facebook is not going to give away their data. Everybody is stealing that information and as much data they have it. So organizations do have, like healthcare companies, they do have, or the banking, everybody have a lot of data. In a nice manner, if they can protect it as well, then they can start creating a lot of value. They can do it. So the laws take those for their advantage and take this as the first of their thing. Look, we will be compliant with the GDPR in the data governance journey. That is the one use case of the data governance. But there are data quality improvement we can do. We can do data literacy as well, right? We can do access control as well. So once we are doing all these aspects, then our data science team will flourish, and then they can build a lot more things. So
absolutely,
I would always take as one example of this is this one as a kind of one of the driver for the data governance, and convince your data, your management that we need this, but we can do this much as well.
Very well said. It's really one of those bullet points, those regulation compliance, and then all the other value propositions that you mentioned in order to forward the business, to push the business forward. But Rajendra has a question here, because earlier data governance was new. That's true. But now, should not data governance be included from the start? And sadly, I mean, yes, I completely agree with you. You're preaching to the choir here, to me and Sharad. But unfortunately, that's still not the case, right? That's the reason why we need to build a business case to really convince our future sponsors why they need to invest some resources into a data governance program.
And one thing I would also say in this one, like, I know because we are implementing data governance for a lot of customers. Some customers who are like CDOs, they are really progressive and they are like our thinker. They are including data governance at the beginning. So when we are selling our solution, we know that they say, okay, we don't have the data platform yet, but we want to create a framework first, and then we want to start building it. So they are creating a framework first, and then they're opening up for data science. So I would say that yes, the most of the big organization are really focused about let's get some value out of it. But a lot of like a mid-size organization, even to like large organization, which is like some of them are customers, and I see them, they realize the value of the data governance, and they are moving in that direction now. That let's have the governance policies aligned first, and let's move into it. But yes, like 90% is still let's move offense. Let's try to create some value out of it, and forgetting about the defense part of that.
Absolutely. Okay, so back to the question: how do we make the business case for data governance, and not any business case, but one that will wow those business executives? So that first piece was to identify those drivers and just mention what that value driver is. That's kind of the first piece. And to also, I would say, make sure that we're always tying the importance of data governance to the organization goals. I think we need to make that clear connection that everybody really sees themselves in it. What will be the next step that we need to do?
Identify the problems which exist in the organization. So why do we need data governance? There are some people's problems all around the places. So we have identified the problem in 3 areas mostly. The one area is data scientists problem, right? Where they are not able to move faster than they want to. So the first problem they generally get is that they don't have access to the data, right? And data, if they have access to it, you create a phenomenal value from that. So that is the first problem. Second problem generally they have it is like they don't know what the relationships of the data are. So I'll give you a very good example of it and the ideas. So for example, like let's say that you are a data scientist and you see the table which have the name, address, phone number, etc., etc. And suddenly some executive says that, I wish that we could find some more customers more information. And like, this is the only information we collect. How can we find more information from it? But there are ways out there. The ways is you have an address, right? It have a city, it have a zip code. You can put this to Zillow API and get their house price. And now you suddenly know the net worth of the customer. You don't know the exact net worth, but you know that, okay, now I know that how much, somebody is living in $1 million house, $10 million house, $500,000, or, you get another component immediately. And now you can segment it based on their net worth. Ideas. So those are the various ideas. You get it when you discuss more with the business people, because business people, it's very important to discuss those with business people. So those are the various areas like data scientist problems are there. They need to have access to the data. They need to know the relationship between those data sources. What kind of relationship exists? How can I join these data sources? How can I get more value out of it? Right?
And understand their meaning.
Understand their meaning of that. So that is the data scientists or data engineers or the value creation part of that.
And I will also add, Sharad, is the fact that at least Forbes is estimating that a data scientist is spending at least 60% of their time with data cleansing, data wrangling.
Data wrangling activity.
Governance could solve that issue as well.
Yeah, make sure that you're cleaning up data at the source rather than at the destination when you are trying to do it. So that is one of the core area of the data governance is to create the data quality improvement program, so that you're improving the quality on where it exists, because of either by the process or by ETL programs. However you can fix it, let's fix that quality of the data. I
think we need to have a separate session where we tackle the data quality aspect of it.
This is altogether by itself is a big monster.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that as well. So those are the challenges of the business users. Then we have a challenges of the data users, data scientists, and this one. The business users also have their own challenges. The business user challenges is that how do I find the data, right? Even though, say, like one of our customer have thousands of reports, and each report have duplicate report and then another report, and they don't know which one to pick at, which one is the right, which one is the wrong, and by getting this answer from anywhere, it takes forever. Organizations are big, and what happens, they ask the developer and they create another one.
Right.
Because they don't know which one is right, and then the fourth one get created. So it's again and again. So you need some sort of a mechanism, governance practices, which is a certified, how it's new to get it, so you need some sort of a practices around there. So these are the various problems of the business user, data users, and obviously the data, some of the privacy control is one of the key areas of that. Is how can we ensure that the privacy data is secured, or basically govern the way the GDPR CCPA asks us to do it. And the second thing is not only the privacy data, the confidential data, right? For example, if the HR data is there, the salary is there, there is no laws asking you to not tell your salary to other employees, but it will create a havoc in the company if everybody know everybody's salary, right? So it's a very confidential data which cannot be shared even within developers, right? So but there is a data which is sitting in the one of the database, which is the ERP database. So either you do not give access to that entire database to anybody, or if you give it, then you have to ensure that you are scrubbing the salary information or the confidential data, whatever it is having there. I'm just giving an example of salary, but a lot of confidential data might be there. So you have to protect that data and then give access to everyone. So those are the various problems you have to identify by interviewing the various individuals. And then you can identify that. And that is the key aspect of it. So understand the value, what you're going to get from the data, and then understand the problems you are going to go in execution of that, so that you have a solution upfront. Once you understand the problem, then you can create a solution. Without understanding the problem, you cannot. So once you know the problem, then you create the solution for them, and then you start executing upon it.
Very well said.
So just to say it again, so the three main steps would be first to identify the value drivers, then to understand the pain points, and then to create the solution. And I have here a question: who is creating that solution? Who is coming up? What is it? The joint effort? Who is at the table to create the solution?
So mostly it's the chief data officer, VP of analytics, or somebody who is in charge, or mostly we have seen is the data architects are the one who is taking the challenge and creating it, and then they are getting almost like promotions, or they are really taking it forward, and they are really playing the role of the chief data officer. So it should be only one person or two person. It should not be a team. Or if there's a large organization, the team is there, then it is helping that particular person and creating a team. The mid-sized to large organization, there is only one person who is creating that team, or basically this one. And then asking then individual through, means everybody is kind of supporting them to when they are asking question, hey, I want to know all the problems you have it. And all the data scientists, data engineers, they are obviously responding to their surveys and something like that. But that's a one person who is really building the business case. That's the person's role.
Right. And at this point, Sharad and Diana, I mean, we're talking about more high level. We're just writing the business case here. So we're coming with a solution, but that could also change, or we're not really going into the weeds here, that we're outlining all the different
blocks. The whole thing is basically the PowerPoint presentations we are creating right now. We are
right.
getting all the value. There's no solution yet. This only thing is there right now to get the problem statement from all the business stakeholders, to get the problem statement from all the data scientists, data engineering team, all the business team. So we get all the problem statement, we get this, and then we create the solution on basically the architecture diagram. So you create an architecture diagram that how our solution will look like, what are the governance capabilities we will do it. So it's a template which you will use to kind of create that. And once everything will be there, you will identify the value. Let's say the value is say $50 million. Then you identify what is the cost is going to cost us to put all the infrastructure in place. Let's say $1 million or $2 million, whatever the cost is. And then you put, what kind of effort will be taken by our team. Let's say that's another $1 million. So you put together all the numbers, you see the value of it. And then obviously the value which you will promote is it substantial with the data or not, right? So you can say, I will create this suddenly a new component, and then because the new value will create. And that is always the challenge. Like we did it for one customer where we demonstrated that the supply chain optimization, very simple use case. It's a large company in Atlanta only, but they are a very large company. They're in they build paper basically. So they're in paper business. They have a lot of, so they, as they are building the papers, and there's a lot of inventory sitting, right, in their, so if they can reduce their inventory level, there's millions and millions of dollar inventory sitting. So they just want to optimize this inventory level. And they said the cost saving was $100 million every year, right? Just by reducing optimizing the proper inventory level. It is huge, but the effort was so large. The effort was you have to know the demand, and the demand is like they produce for Walmart and Target, everybody, and you can't get the data from them. So they're purchasing the data from Walmart, Target, all these companies, and there are companies who provide the data. So they're purchasing the data, they're creating the demand for it. What would be the demand in for next 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, kind of thing. They understand the demand. Supply, they know. The SAP system already have all the supply demands, right? So understanding demand and supply, kind of optimizing it, and then coming up with a proper model. And it's nothing like a rocket science here. It's all just SQLs, which is bringing the data from here, everything. But putting all this information together and putting this, hundreds of millions of dollars saving. They can do it every year because of just the properly optimizing it. Amazon built their entire enterprise on supply chain optimization, if you think about it, right? So, and those are the small business case you have to adopt. For each business case is can be of tens of $1 million saving, or hundreds of millions of dollars saving, or maybe $1 million saving, or maybe a opportunity to expand, opportunity to do the more marketing, better marketing. So there are various business cases which can be used for that.
That's beautiful. Before we carry on with the business case, I just want to draw this to our audience attention. If you go to the OvalEdge website and you go on their blog section, you'll find one of the latest articles will address some of the points that we're actually talking about right now. So how to build this business case. And not only that, but Sharad also put together this beautiful guide, which you can download for free, which goes into quite, a lot of detail to really guide you on how you could build a wonderful business case for your data governance program. And it has even examples and types of questions that you can ask, and on all these different areas. So it can really get easier than this, as you can see. So I definitely urge you to take a look at ovaledge.com/blog, look at the one of the latest articles that addresses this topic here, and just download it and use it as a starting point.
Yeah, it's a very, very valuable resource. So it's so much detail in there, so much insight. I think it's valuable for any data professional out there. I found it astounding. So thank you very much for creating that, Sharad.
We took a lot of time and knowledge within our company, and as well as our customers. Like, okay, how do you really build this use cases? And these are like some customer is doing A way, some is B way. And then we trying to kind of consolidate all these problem areas and kind of created one spreadsheet. And it's a simple spreadsheet which have all the, I think the first thing it asks you to do the survey within your business community to get that what can the survey can give you the result. And the survey is very simple, that it's give you the name and what the question you should ask. So you should ask these questions from your business executives, and they will give you some ideas. So that becomes your starting point. Then comes to the pain point survey. The pain point survey is the second one, which have identified the pain points of three individual like business user personas, data professionals, and the third one is the data governance. Data management professionals. So you will identify these problems. Of course, they can have their more problems, but it's like a starting point. So even
it's a good start, yeah.
It's a good starting point. Otherwise, you ask them what the problem it is, and whatever the first problem they comes up, they always give you that example. And a lot of things in the you kind of lose that momentum when you are taking the survey. So take that, and then now they can check box that. Once you consolidate this and then basically create the framework, then you can use this implementation framework of this, that this is the various data governance guidelines. That's how do we implement the data governance? What are the different use cases you should use it? So based on the problems you are getting from your audience and the business case, you identified, okay, let's identify, like for example, data quality is a big problem. Then you identify the data quality implementation. Let's implement the data quality first. If you identify the data literacy is a problem, then you identify the data literacy first, or the data access is a problem, then you do it. So based on that, you can start implementing a use case at a time, and then you start building that. So it's a very step-by-step process. You just have to follow this, and of course use your within the process, and you can build a business case very easily with that.
Very valuable. Thank you. And I love some of the examples and details that are listed here, because as you're going through them, even though you might not think that, well, I don't know if I have this issue in my organization. As you're reading the examples, you're like, oh yeah, no, I do. Yeah, that's the exact example.
I have a question here. So Sharad, where does OvalEdge come in?
So OvalEdge is a tool which can help you to build the data governance journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a data catalog. So what we have done is that the way we have structured the product is that it's a catalog which captures the data from everywhere, right? So data governance is nothing but it's a rules and procedures and the policies which you follow within the organization, right? So let's say that you create, okay, we want to have this kind of naming standard. We want to have the privacy information to have this kind of security. So first thing is that we catalog all the data, we put all this information at one place. So the one is the immediate value you get out of it is you can give it to your data scientists, they can go find and search it. But then you say, hey, we need to protect PII data, right? Then you can say, okay, now Mr. Data Governance team, go ahead and go and use our artificial intelligence, find out all the PII data, protect it. Now you can still do the data discovery. Now, so that's the tool is designed in a manner that you can do the data governance for the entire enterprise, and as well as do the data discovery. So it takes care of all the defense part, as well as offense is mostly in not in the data science, like really building the model, but really around finding, understanding, and extracting the data from the wherever. So this is the one source of truth for all the data, and data is available at one platform, and then but ensuring the governance is there. So what is the one thing is we're doing is ensuring the governance, but you do not have to worry about the governance aspect of it, and then also giving the offensive a tool into that. But it's not like everything is like, okay, you implement the tool and everything is done. No, you have to implement it. You have to use your own, you have to write your policy, what the governance policies are. You have to ensure what the security policies are, and it can provide you the tool to implement it. This is like a similar to like Salesforce. Like Salesforce is used for like, before Salesforce, people used to write emails to their customer. They used to go to phone calls, right? They used to do everything, but it was inefficient process. What Salesforce does is they make it efficient process that, okay, now everybody use the same step-by-step guides to when to call it, when to email, what are the best practices to email, what are the best practices to call, so that people will pick up your phone, right? So sales is a big platform. Similar to that is a data governance. It's a different genre altogether, but it's the same kind of like component, if you say that.
Absolutely. And by the way, just want to mention that Scott Taylor, the Data Whisperer, just downloaded that business case guide, and he's saying that it looks great. So thanks for making good use of it, Scott Taylor. And by the way, just tune in to more at the on the Good Data Morning Show, as Scott Taylor will be our featured guest. So I just want to come back to one point here on the understanding those pain points. Just maybe a tip that I do want to mention that I found from my own experience is, I think you've really outlined very well on how we should outline it based on the data management, the data users, the business users, and what their pain points are. And I think it's good to outline those issues at, let's say, unit level or department level, even the organization level, so that macro point of view. At the same time, when you're having those interviews, those questions with the individuals, try and find out what their main pain points are, like at an individual level. What challenges are they facing on a day-to-day? So something very, very operational, if you will, but it's something that you can definitely relate to, and maybe not necessarily in the business cases, it would be a bit more granular, but when you're having those conversations to try and get them on board, it really helps if you address what's in it for them at that individual level.
You said it absolutely right, George. I think it's taking their problem and say, hey, your data governance is actually fixing your problem. So generally, the governance words comes around mostly around government, and you have to write these many rules, I have to write the policies, and I'm not getting anything out of it. But if you are addressing their problem and you are addressing the solution to their problem, then mostly individuals and everybody get aligned with that. Oh, okay, I can do this also with the data governance. And that's a great point that which is very important, that we address the problem of data scientists, data engineers, or whoever is building in that team, who's building the real value to it.
Yeah. And we have a couple questions here that I think we can address. And from Kira Lenz is asking, how do you calculate the value? And in similar vein, Rajat is also asking, how do you measure the dollar value of data governance beyond its value as an enabler or qualitative aspects, and showcase it to the leadership early on in the data governance journey? And I think it can go back to what we said, and as Scott Taylor is mentioning here, that if a data scientist spends most of their time on data cleanup, are they actually a data scientist, or are they just an overpaid data janitor? And that could definitely be part of calculating that value. Is listen, you're paying these people how much money, and 60 to 90% of the time they're not doing what they were hired to do, but they're doing stuff that maybe you could hire somebody maybe a little bit cheaper, or but you can definitely put a value on the time spent.
There are three ways to kind of monitor the value of data governance as well, which I have seen quite a bit. The one is eliminating the just human productivity, right? Telling that how much is the productivity is going to gain because of the data governance. Like for example, before the data governance, your quality metrics is X, and after that the improvement is Y. So obviously the quality is improving. That's why your data team have to do the less work. That's increasing. So every time the human productivity improves, and that's your data scientist improving. So that's the gain you are getting. So the one is that now you can calculate this either the terms of their salary, that okay, their salary is going to be less and like 20% less, or that whatever the number is that they're going, but also the time to value, right? In this market, everything is about timing, and as early you can come, either you exist in this business or you do not exist, right? Suppose there's so many businesses where you have to come first, or basically start giving the value up front, right? So those are directly going to the businesses. So the time to the value, and then obviously the productivity side of it. That's the one aspect which we generally call it. The second one is the improvement in the data quality of the data, right? So that is another big challenge you get, is that when you have a better quality of the data, you get better decisions. And ultimately, one of the IBM studies says that $3.1 trillion wasted in overall US economy if the data quality
just in the US, exactly.
Just in the US, and imagine this is more than the money they are printing right now, the $3 trillion, right? So it's a way tremendous to the bad data quality. What does it does? So there is a second aspect of it. Third is creating a better decisions from the data, right? So once you have the proper governance, trustworthy decisions from the data, right? That is the level of trust you get it. So what is the biggest problem in the world right now is, right, if you think about the US perspective, everybody's talking about the insurrection which happened, because of the various tweets, and so we all know that. So one of the whole world is supposed to be, it's a major event. And why it happened? Because of the untrustworthy data, untrustworthy tweets. The tweets was giving the information which is not trustworthy, which is not came out through the due diligence process. So this is at the very high level, top level, you can get the problems of the trustworthiness. Similar to the businesses, as I say that I see 3 reports, and I'm optimizing my inventory, and how much should I keep it? Should I keep at 1 metric ton, or 2 metric ton, or 3 metric ton? Now, these are the decisions I can take it myself as a business executive, and I'm seeing some numbers, and based on those numbers, I'm making the decisions, right? How much my demand would be, and suddenly the demand comes up more, then why those are not trustworthy? Because it's not that the calculation was wrong, because some of the data was not inputted into the system. So that is why not trustworthy, because we don't know whether all the data in the demand is there, right? Whether, okay, say for example, I'm creating the demand from a system. So is the data from all the different sectors which is creating the demand, which is for example, like a store data, or is sales from multiple process, so that it have to make sure that all the demands are getting created. So the data governance team is ensuring that yes, this report, this ensure is trustworthy. We have looked into it. All the data is good. So the trust of the data makes them easier for the business executive to make a decision, right? I will just any individual they go to Netflix and start the first movie. Chances are not. They're kind of look around in the more and then see which movie
Right.
they really like it. Although the data which is coming from the recommendation is not that much trustworthy. As if your friends tells you, then you immediately going to watch the same movie because that recommendation is way better than the immediately which is coming from algorithm. So the power of algorithms and the individuals, that makes the complete trustworthiness, and that's where our product can also help you. How can you take the data and the trustworthiness into it? So those are the various mechanisms.
That's one of the features that I love when a data catalog has that. If you as an individual could put in your review, your star system, however it could work, to let other colleagues know of your experience and why they should maybe use it and sort of increase that trustworthiness that you mentioned.
It's a very important factor, and it's a simple solution that you put that some sort of a star rating and give them the ability, but it's not the star rating from anybody. This is I can reach out to that person. In Amazon, you cannot reach out to that person because there's so many people out there and how you really like the product. But here, that your colleague who have recommended it. So that person, you have worked with them. So it's much more creates a trustworthiness, which is easier.
Absolutely. You can't really game the system like you could in Amazon, I guess, and have some fake reviews and things like that. Exactly. You can't really do that with the data catalog.
Yeah.
Do I remember correctly that when you started one of your jobs, the trustworthiness was very low, and then you were able to increase it?
Yeah, that was one of the issues and one of the kind of main drivers of why we were able to make the case of data governance. The fact that data quality overall was seen as quite bad, so people wouldn't trust it, and they wouldn't rely their decisions anymore based on that CRM data. And in fact, they started creating their own shadow systems to start capturing their own little bubbles of data, which happens very often, right, in siloed approaches. And yeah, so that was one of the challenges and the drivers. And the funny thing is that took years. That took at least a couple of years to kind of flip it around. So even after we've improved that data quality, people still had the impression that, no, data is bad, even though it wasn't anymore. So there was quite a little bit of, let's say, change management practices that had to be put in place to turn them around and flip their impression into the reality. Yeah.
And what is the main area where you saw the change management? I know the change management is the key area where I think the data governance have to allow it. But what is the main factor which you observed that it worked in favor of you in terms of the change management?
Well, it's very important, first of all, to identify some champions. So some people that were kind of on board from the start, and we took them along the journey and we were able to use them as examples. So to say, hey, this department, look how they've benefited from it. And in turn, they sort of became the voice or one of the voices for data governance. So I think getting that message of its importance and value and effects from a business user was so much more effective than having us, be in front of the audience and talk about it. It was really a little bit more trustworthy that way. And them showing that, hey, this is how it worked for me. These are the benefits that I'm seeing. People are like, oh, okay. I kind of want to get in on that and benefit from it. So take my data under your data governance umbrella type of a thing.
And I also think there was a lot about communication.
It was a lot about communication, starting initially weekly newsletters and then monthly newsletters, a lot of presentations, a lot of education. And Diana, I mean, you're a bit of a change management expert. There are different ways of tackling and communicating to people, right? There are people that are understanding this from, I guess, a more visual type of a presentation. Some are more listeners, some prefer to read, some prefer those details and the tabular reports.
Some prefer to try it themselves. Yeah, so you need to make sure that you address all these types of learning and all these types of, personalities in order to make sure that you have everyone on board. However, there's always going to be people who resist. There's always going to be people who don't trust it, people who are skeptics, but that's just a given. So I think you shouldn't stop or not start something just because you know that there's going to be these types of people.
Yeah. Now, we might be getting a little bit off track with some of these questions, but and Rajat has a question here. For a company just starting their data governance journey, at what stage do you suggest using a data catalog tool?
At the start. So one of the blog I have written in Forbes, that is that how to start a data governance, progressive data governance, that starts from the product, which is the catalog, and then start creating the processes. Because without tool, if you implement anything, it will be very difficult. Although there are, we are kind of promoting the product. That's not the objective. But let's say that you want to implement any rule around it, right? So any governance policies without tool, it's very ineffective. So you need to have that, okay, let's identify the tool which is good for your high level business case, identify them, and then start implementing the way you can. So like, for example, like some of the companies say, no, you create the process first, and then you identify that tool is working on, then switch around the tool, how it works. The problem is that changing the tool, the way your business processes are, which is not there, which is just your vision, right? In the ERP world, the business processes were there. And in that time, the change managements were very difficult. So people used to change the tool to kind of make sure that it's working for your business process. Right now, you don't have a business process in the data governance world, right? Most of the time, people don't have it. So let's use the business process and the best practices from the tool provider, and then start using the tool and then use those best practices to convey that. That is a easier approach and quick, much more faster, rather than first identifying the business case, what will work for you, which even don't know it's going to work or not, right? Because it's just your fantasy that is going to work. And that is why it is important to say the tool first. So it's a very simple approach. Identify the tool. Then after that, you identify all the features you needed, and then make some changes if it need to be in the tool, and then start implementing the best practices. We have almost implemented at various dozens of customers, and it's easy to use the best practices. They go like faster. And even we implement like CRM system. I said, okay, I asked my provider, okay, tell me the best practices. We are the new company. We want to implement the CRM process. I don't have any process in mind. So I will use the process which is right, which is very well vetted for any SaaS company which can use the CRM process, right? Why would I reinvent the wheel? So the same thing is that let's not reinvent the wheel, and let's use the best practices, and the tool is there to kind of help you guide there.
Right. I have a question coming back to the business glossary. I have a question, on the business case, not the business glossary. On the business case, on really the mediums of delivering it. But first, I want to take this question from Gotham, who's asking, how is OvalEdge different from other data governance tools?
So the one thing is that like other data governance tools are not the data governance tool in general. Like, for example, some people are moving from ETL area. Some people are moving from other area, right? So they are trying to build into the data governance. They are not primarily ground up built for data governance purpose, right? So we are primarily built for data catalog and then doing exactly for the data governance purpose from ground up. Another part is that in OvalEdge is that we are the very light on infrastructure. So we does not need any infrastructure to do the implementation part. While other tools might be very heavy on infrastructures, you need to bring a lot of IT investment into it. Our servers can run on one computer and then start working on it. So that is the main two difference, I would say, that it's primarily, and then it's a complete suite of it. Other you can buy the one solution will buy Lineage, another one will buy data catalog. Then you have to integrate those two together. And the cost of integration is very high, right? Because we know them. So our is like ground up build for it, and we have complete feature. We have Lineage, we have business glossary, we have data catalog, we have data quality. So all the components you need at one platform and one suite. It's like a Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, everything is there. Copy paste much more easier. Imagine that the Excel is different and the PowerPoint is different, so they are not able to integrate very easily. Although they're a different product, because since came from Microsoft, much more easy copy paste here and there. So similar to that, it works very flawlessly integrated because it's ground up built from the same mindset into it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So back to my question. Now, on delivering that business case, what do you recommend as the medium? Is it a PowerPoint presentation? Is it a lengthy document? Is it a sort of a 2-pager format? That
I think it should be 2-pager and then PowerPoint. It cannot be a lengthy document. And this is my opinion. 2-pager to have the very comprehensive summary of it, so that executive can take it and buy it. On the one side, it should really say that, okay, what is the value proposition? How much I'm going to get it? What is for them? Like how much money or saving or something. And the second part would be that how we are going to solution and what are the core steps of that is. The similar 2-pager can be converted to a PowerPoint, PowerPoint is not for distribution. It is for you to present to the business executive. Okay, these are the various things, which is a little bit detailed version of that. Other than that, otherwise that doesn't go very well. If you are trying to present it, you have to take the PowerPoint and you present that to your business executive and send the 2-pager to them.
Thank you. We have a question from Harpreet earlier on here. What is a good way to establish an initial scope of this initiative? So whatever we're going to put in the business case, do you have any recommendations on what the scope of data governance should be initially?
Initially, yes. So I think that's what we propose is a progressive approach of data governance. So the one side is what we say the progressive means that one side you're going and including more and more group and department within the company. Another side, you are including more and more, I would say, the use cases of the data governance. So the first thing is that there are 6 or 7 use cases of data governance, right? The data literacy, the data access control, data quality improvement, right? Then data lineage, So there are 6 use cases for data governance. Similar to that, so you identify what is important for you, because you cannot implement all at the beginning. So you say, okay, lineage and data access control is very important for me. Let's start from these 2, and then I will move to these next. And then identify from the one side, you start implementing this. Another side, you start, okay, let's start with one team, with the data warehousing team, for example. So let's implement with the data warehousing team. Then you bring let's say another application, which is the CRM. Let's bring them into it. Let's bring SAP also into the system. Let's bring like other team into the system. So start first, create this, and then you will have a lot of learning. You have a lot of learning as you are doing this. You know what to do, what not to do, and then you start implementing that. So it's a progressive approach. You keep building your framework and policies, and then you start going one at a time. So if you start to do one big bang, okay, bring all the organization together and you're doing one implementation, it grows slowly. So team-wise, at the one side, you are improving the team-wise and the organization you are improving, and otherwise the use cases-wise. That's how. And then importance of the use cases should come from the business side. The business, once you run this survey, you will know exactly where you stand in your organization.
So what I think you've briefly mentioned is that data governance maturity model there, and sort of identify what level you're at, and then identify, well, we'll target these in different levels as we're going to progress and mature our capacity.
Yeah, and then you can use that matrix as well, the data governance maturity model matrix as well, where we are, and this is how we're going to implement it, and this. And the level 4 and level 5 or level 3, wherever you are, and maybe some department will be there level 4, some department will be level 1, but you do not want one department to be level 5, another one at level 0, right? You do not want that. So okay, that's why the progressive is important. If we are moving everybody to 2, now let's start moving to 3 and 4, and then now see. So that's where everything goes exactly in the same direction.
We have a question here from Kimberly. Apology if this was mentioned already. For businesses that are hesitant to take the leap as they are just starting their digital transformation, and I guess that could be one of the drivers. Hey, we want to transform our business that way. What would you recommend as the first absolutely necessary step to address that would best prepare them to scale up when ready? Do you need to monetize the data potential first?
So I think the monetize the data potential first is a very good first step. Potential. I think the word she uses potential. You cannot monetize the data first. If you can monetize the data potential, that basically the one thing with bow the business executive very easily, and it's not that difficult to as I say that this method which I have created, with the surveys, is you talk to any business executives, which basically surveys tells you talk to the business executives, which will tell you that, okay, these are the various areas of potential which we can use it, right? So as you are doing the survey, and every business executive will have, I can guarantee on it, they will have 5 ideas where the data can be used to kind of give the value. The only is your role as a chief data officer or the VP of analytics or whatever the role you are in, to really come up with the proper step-by-step process of executing it. Mostly the people are failing in execution of it, not in the ideas. I mean, people have ideas and they have the business knowledge to kind of gain the idea, but the execution sometimes fails because of the data is so much, you're not able to control it, we don't have access to it. Those are the various problem areas where you're failing. So identify those problem areas, identify the monetization, and that's the way.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Robin here is mentioning, great to see this discussion. We picked the data foundation needed to support the data strategy. So data governance, quality, metadata. Thin slices through the business based on critical business processes and the selection of the data attributes that drive them, all aligned to business outcome. It really makes an easier sell for the execs.
I think that's a nice quote. I think it says everything, yeah.
And curious, how can someone as a data governance initiator convince the colleagues directly? Humans tend to better accept innovations when they experience a direct benefit. And I think that goes back to what we were talking, that we need to see how we could make it what's in it for them type of a thing. Understand their main pain points, like Sharad mentioned, and then show them that direct connection on how data governance could come up with a solution to resolve those pain points.
I think you said it. I would say the same thing. Identifying their pain point and the solution to them. That's obviously data governance does it.
And Sharad, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. And how much does it generally cost for a small company under 1,000 employees to implement a data governance tool like OvalEdge?
So we have a packages which starts from like a kind of like $3,000 a month to a little bit go up to $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month, whatever the companies are. But I would say the $3,000 a month is kind of a basic price tag for the software. Then you will need one person from your company as well. Is your cost include like one person from your organization to implement this? And not in the from the management perspective, you need somebody to kind of make sure that you are implementing it. So the cost of that person plus a tool, that probably the nature for the mid-size, like a lot of our customers is at that range, where they have one person and use the tool to kind of implement this.
I gotta say, I appreciate the openness. There are not too many speakers from the vendor side, let's say, that are very open with that. So I really appreciate it.
We are an open data governance platform. So we promote openness, and as well as our pricing is pretty open, and everything is pretty our software is also open, so you can go navigate. So we are pretty open company, and that's the way to promote data governance. You cannot have everything on your PowerPoint and then kind of promoting data governance. We believe in openness, and
absolutely.
Yeah. And I really like the quote or your motto which is to create the aha moments quicker without breaking your budget.
Yeah.
I think that fits very well in here.
Yeah,
that's true.
All right, so we're coming to an end here. Thank you so much, Sharad, for all the insights, and especially on the guide that anybody could download by going to ovaledge.com, checking out their blog section there. And there are a lot of articles that you can learn from, and especially the one on how to build a business case for data governance that will wow your business executives. And as I mentioned before, you could download this this guide for free and well, just use it in order to build your business case.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here and for your questions. Make sure that you connect with Sharad over LinkedIn. He'll be open to answer any other questions. Yeah. And we'll see you soon, Sharad.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.